Hi there, this is Jeffrey Navarez. I would like to talk about intervals today. So, intervals are the building blocks of music. Everything we hear is a combination of either intervals played at the same time or intervals that are played separately. So, any two notes are going to create a relationship between each other, and we have to label that in a term we call an interval. So, if I went like this, all right, I'm playing two notes at the same time. It's not a chord, it's an interval. If I play the notes one at a time, the intervals are melodic. If I play the notes together, the intervals are harmonic. If we have three notes, that would be a chord. And yes, the chord is made up of intervals. When we hear melodies, those notes are spaced out one after the other, and so we would call those melodic intervals. Naming intervals. Intervals are identified by two labels. So we have to identify the space between the notes. All right, so the space between the notes, you can see that there's both notes are on a space, both are on a line. And we got to count the distance between this note and this one. So that's the number. So naming the space between the notes is the number. And then there's another part to it. It's called the kind, whether it's a major interval or a minor interval. We'll cover that in a second. But right now we're going to focus on counting the number. So here we have an A to a C. When we're counting intervals, include where you start. In this case, it's A. And also include where you end. In this case, it is C. So A, B, C. We had three notes. So that means the interval is a third. Here we have a G to a D. Here are the harmonic examples. These are the melodic examples. So we have the interval of a fifth. So we have G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, D is 5. So that's a fifth. So that's referring to naming the intervals by number. The best way to memorize these things is to really drill them. And so I'm going to give you a workbook assignment. But before we get to that workbook assignment, I just want to mention that you should be able to recognize these intervals by glancing at them. So thirds, fifths, and sevenths, okay, which are odd intervals. They're odd numbers, right? Are always evenly spaced. See how it's line, line, space, 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 line, line. These are fifths. We have sevenths. So the even intervals, the twos, the fours, and the sixths, are oddly spaced. All right? So it's important that you recognize that. In order to make this, something that's second nature for you, I have a members section on my website. So my website is jeffreynevaras.com, jeffreynevaras.com. And when you come to the homepage, okay, you'll see over here it says login. So if you haven't logged in before, you'll go to create an account and you'll fill in the form, and I'll get a notification, and then I will okay your membership. It's free of charge. There's no cost for this. But I do have to okay it, so it may take a couple of hours if I don't get the email right away. You could always email me and say, hey, listen, I signed up. Can you okay my membership? Okay, so now once you have your membership, you have to put in your password, and this will bring you to the members section. Over on the left and in the middle, it's a repeat of the same thing. So we're talking about music theory today. So today's lesson is going to be in harmony, music harmony and theory. So you're going to click on that. I only have one lesson in here right now, and this is the key signature video and key signature worksheet and questions. There's flashcards. So today's lesson will be labeled Intervals 101. And so when you click on Intervals 101, you will be able to pull up this worksheet. You can print it out and you can practice with the worksheet. So here, all we're doing is naming the intervals, and I would write them out. I think it's good practice, by number. So we don't have to think major intervals or minor intervals. This is a third, just by recognizing it. And you can see here, those are evenly spaced, so it's an odd interval. This is oddly spaced, right? So it's a even interval. So again, you can see that at www.jeffreynevaras.com. and go to Login, go to the Members section. We have named the intervals by number, right? Remember we said we're going to name it by number and kind. So we did it by number, and we have our worksheet. Now we're comfortable with that. So now we're going to look at intervals by kind. We have 5 kinds of intervals. We have perfect, we have major, minor, diminished, and augmented. We're going to deal with perfect and major intervals because after we know what a perfect and a major interval is, we can define all of the other kinds of intervals. There's 2 steps in determining the intervals by kind. The first step is you need to think about the lower note as the root of the major scale. We have a C to a D. So if D belongs to the key of C, all right, then we have a major interval. If E belongs to the key of C, we have a major interval. If A belongs to the key of C, we have a major interval. If B belongs to the key of C, we have a major interval. Again, I didn't give you the number because we were just focusing on the kind. So obviously we have to measure the number and the kind. Now looking at the interval, we count up C, D, so that's a second. D belongs to the key of C, so that's a major second. So here we have C to E, all right, so that's a third. We have C, D, E, we have 3 notes, so that's a major third because E belongs to the key of C. F is does F belong to the key of C? Yes, it does, and we have C, D, E, F, so it's a perfect fourth, so on and so forth. So basically what we have, the above example, it shows that the upper notes are just the C major scale. It should be noted that perfect unison and perfect octave are the official names for unison and octave. People don't usually say perfect octave or perfect unison. They just say unison or octave. And if you notice, we have fourths and fifths are perfect. Seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths are major. You will never call thirds, sixths, and sevenths perfect, and you'll never call fourths and fifths major. They're always perfect. When you flip the fourths, they become perfect fifths, and when you flip the perfect fifths, they become fourths. Something different happens with the seconds, thirds, and sixths, but we're going to deal with that in another installment. So just to recap, when we are naming the interval by kind, you need to ask yourself, does the upper note belong to the key of the lower note? So we have E and D sharp. If you're not familiar with your key signatures, then you need to get comfortable with your key signatures. On my site, that's what I have up already. My key signature video, and we have my key signature worksheet, so you can practice that. We have common questions, so I put that here, and this is all downloadable and free on my website. I think I have a circle of fifths. I'm going to upload a circle of fifths. I thought I did, but I don't think it's on here. So I will upload a circle of fifths for you. We have this cool little page here. They're key signature flashcards. If you look at this here, it says F is sharp, and you can ask yourself, what key is that? And if you click on the picture, it'll flip and it'll say, oh, key of G, 1 sharp, F sharp. I think this is all in the key signature video on my website. Again, if you're not comfortable with key signatures and scales, you got to get on that and get comfortable with that. In the key of E, there's a D sharp. So we count E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So that's 7 notes because we include where we start and where we end. And D sharp does belong to the key of E, so it's a major 7th. A to C sharp is a major 3rd because C sharp belongs to the key of A. A flat to E flat is a perfect 5th because E flat belongs to the key of A flat. And so just like we did previously, we have a worksheet to work on these intervals by kind. I can pop this up in my finale here. For this one, name the following intervals by number and kind. So we look at this and I say to myself, we have a C to a D. Well, D is in the key of C. So what we have here is a major 2nd. So I'll go M, A, J, 2nd. Okay, so that's all we have to do is we have to name these intervals. Okay, so now you're just going to write on the bottom, what the interval is. So they're all major or perfect. Now with the next worksheet, what I want you to do is actually go in, and you should print this one out, because what you want to do is you want to write in, if necessary, the correct accidentals. So for instance, we have a G to an F. What kind of Fs belong to the key of G? They're F sharps. So what we need to do is we have to make this major, okay? So we have to sharp that F. And then I would recommend just to come in here and just put in M, A, J, 7. So C to G. I don't have to do anything here. because G does belong to the key of C. So some of them you'll have to write the accidentals in, and some of them you won't. Write it down. The repetition is going to really help you learn these intervals so you can play them and you can recognize them. For those of you who don't read music very well, if you want to send me an email, I'll be more than happy to give you a first position fingering for these notes. All of these notes can be played in first position. That means they're on the first 4 frets of the guitar. So I hope that you enjoyed this interval video. I am going to post it on YouTube, so if you're not a member of my YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you could subscribe. You could go to YouTube, and then you could just plug in my name, Jeffrey Navarez, and you could click on it and hit subscribe to the channel, rather. And that's it. So again, thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next installment. Be well. Thank you.